13 and for multi-class for IESC. Alright, and here we are. Slight field, again, drivers in the final round. Scott's on the front row with Ilmuz. Coming back, he'll be starting second, have a third place starting position. VNX Legacy fourth, Zach the 1/5. And that will be it for the DPI category. Last will get once they get into a 1 minute race. Will be the of the day. Most impressive. It'll be interesting to see. They're gonna line 18 fighting out in this fire at Road America. Going green once they get under the bridge. Scottson, great run to the inside. He'll throw it to the eye of Villeneuve like he made without any Indian. Scottson, and he now sets his forward ahead of Scottson. So Stingray, who will need to outrun, well, likely pit pass in stint 1, lead early itself. All Scottson, who dominated. Oh wow! And VNX Legacy goes well off. Sir, gonna lose a bunch of time. Falls back to as well. He's looking for a way. Scott right now in the DPI category. Now they come onto the straight for the first time. Scottson having speed advantage. Stingray has. Stingray, how does he defend? Stingray half off the line with him. Nose to tail for the top 3. Onto the back straight. Scott on the inside, outside. Ilshing the 2 forwards side as they go. Gonna give it to Scott. Scott Barry leads the first lap of the and Scottson to figure out race sooner rather than there it was. Too aggressive in 7 and crossover. It's not quite as well as he anticipated. There's still a position there. Booz has the inside line through here enough to put Stingray behind. Now Stingray, oh, and Legacy made contact. He had to back out of it, and now Legacy may have to win from his teammate. Doesn't happen. Booz now has to start run down. In the P2, Cole leads. Already he's opened up a massive lead. Darkser second, with Anonyms right behind him. So it's a repeat of the same thing we saw in Stint 1. Darkser and Anonyms fighting for second. While Critical scoots away. Grizz is 4th and Jagged is 5th. In the GT category, it's much of the same. The same Ferrari, Lucky 8, leads with Scored Buffalo behind. This is the closest Buffalo's been for a while, and I hate to say it, but unless something goes wrong for Lucky here, I don't think he's going to be able to close anymore. The good news, though, for Buffalo is that his GT counterpart has his closest GT rival, U5, is not going to be able to continue his string of second place finishes. For Buffalo, it looks like he'll pretty much not wrap up the title yet, but he'll settle into a very, very solid grasp on the points lead now. So that Ferrari of New England sponsored machine, holds point over Scored Buffalo. in the GT category, opening the gap. Probably the only time we're going to see Buffalo not walking away with a win this season, with the exception of Sabring. He was on the route to winning at Long Beach, but that fell from him after collisions with DPI cars in the final few laps of that event ended his run there. The fight for second in P2 continues. Darkster holds it over Anonyms. Again, largest distance covered will be what gives the GT drivers their points. So the driver who covers the biggest distance covered in a stint will work in their favor. Oh, Darkster off into the dirt, and Anonyms has the run. Side by side for 7th. On the outside, Anonyms keeps it there. A little bit of contact. But Darkster should go back in front here. Outside line not very practical in 6. Now through 7. Anonyms again, better exit. But the P2 category being a single make series, unlike the DPI and GTs, means that the super small advantages, they may not be enough to get you ahead of the man ahead of you. Oh, they both run really wide off. Run uphill. They seem to be... It seems like Darkster may have a small advantage in the straightaways. Anonyms on the inside can't push it. Buffalo continues to run right behind Lucky. This is the closest he's been. This is the first time we've had a serious fight for the lead in the GT category. So a potential mistake from Lucky could vault Buffalo forward. Comey gets by, Remix 8 farther back. But Lucky 7 holding station over Buffalo. Tire off into the dirt, and that might be enough to deny Buffalo another shot at the win here. Lucky 7 has not made a single mistake thus far today, as far as we can tell. Buffalo's driving style, he makes a lot of really small mistakes and then takes the time to correct them. He's still overall faster than everyone else in the GT category in their normal IESC weekend. But Lucky has his number and does not seem like anyone can do anything to get by Lucky within the GT category. These two kind of in a zone of their own. Coming down to the kink, aerodynamics very important here. Does Buffalo have enough front end downforce so he can follow the Ferrari through the kink? He does. Definitely runs a little bit wider. Has the draft down the straight off the Ferrari, but is losing slowly, assuredly, more and more distance to Lucky. Farther back in the GT category, Larry B. the G holds third as Comey and Remix going at it down the straight. Chevrolet, Ferrari. So Ferrari holds 3 of the top 4 positions at the moment. Comey now coming to the inside of Larry on the run downhill. A little bit of a lockup from both of the Ferraris. Remix runs wide, ends up on the outside of Comey. Larry holds on to third for a bit longer. They all go single file again. The fight for second in P2 continues. Darkstar at this point, now the one behind Anonyms. Coming around the outside. Anonyms tries to give him room. Darkstar, I'm sure he's appreciative of that, but could not get alongside, can't keep it alongside 6 either. So Darkstar probably going to set up for a good exit out of 7. Arrow Wake, though, keeps him from setting it properly. And this is going to be where things get interesting. Scottson, your race leader, not ahead of the number 2 driver by much, and he is coming up on GT traffic and will be dealing with them in braking zones. Under braking, goes to the inside, shoots it hard, misses the braking zone, but doesn't matter. He's ahead of the GT traffic. So Scott's in full confidence, overtaking 2 of them right away. Held up just a little bit more. Coming onto the backstretch, Larry gets sideways. Comey is going to follow Scottson's draft to get ahead of Larry. And that means for Moose, he has to dive hard to the inside. He'll blast by both of them. But he was most definitely held up more by traffic than Scottson was. But for the first time all season, a practical fight between Chevrolet and Ferrari on merit, not based off of any challenges or any gimmicks like that. A Ford leads, a Chevy is second, and there's a possibility that Moose could take the stage win over Scottson. The problem for Moose, though, is that he needs Scottson to have a massive instant for the actual win. I'm not talking about points, I'm talking for actual win. It will be the full cumulative distance across all 3 stints. And that Ford in front has outlasted the Chevrolet by a significant amount in all the runs. Moose not able to get by Buffalo or Lucky in an efficient, timely manner. That actually worked out great, though, for Lucky, as Scored actually ended up falling off just a bit. But Scored putting on a stronger showing at this stage in this final stint than he did in the first 2. As we look back at the GT lead fight, Buffalo has Stingray behind him, and that's VX in Legacy. Oh, wow. Stingray gets into the Ferrari, steps the Ferrari sideways. There's all these cars on top of it. Here comes Buffalo. Drag race for the top spot in GT. Buffalo has the nose ahead. He is out-dragging Lucky to the line. Under braking now. Lucky, a little bit wide. Buffalo gives him plenty of room on the outside. Can't really get away with that same feint in turn 6. Or can they? They do! Lucky now has his nose back ahead of Buffalo. And he knocks the BMW off the line. Now, I don't know if Buffalo's going to be happy about that. He gave the Ferrari lots of room, going down to a heavy braking zone. In the process, Lucky ends up running the BMW off the racing line. I wouldn't be happy about that. Still, for a moment, the Ferrari had not been leading. Fight for 4th now between the Chevrolet and the Ferrari. Remix on the outside, which turns into the inside into this braking zone. A little bit of move under braking by Larry. Cuts that off from Remix. Here comes Remix now. He'll be on the outside. He backs out of it. Instead, pulls right behind the Ferrari. It's Comey in the other Ferrari is scooting away. So Ferraris hold still 3 of the top 4 positions. That is critical. Your P2 leader. He's going to squeeze through them in the braking zone like a sandwich. And Remix takes the advantage to skip by Larry. As we look back in this fight for second for P2s, Darkser runs behind Anonyms for the moment. Of note, these two will be closing in on GT traffic shortly. But right now, it looks like Anonyms has the advantage over Darkser. And for the GT category lead, Buffalo still right there behind Lucky, putting up the strongest fight he has all day long. So P2 leader now catches the GT leaders. Will be able to overtake them without too much issue. But this faster traffic seems to work out more and more in Lucky's favor on average than Buffalo's. I'm not saying it's like that all the time. Through traffic, the P2 category is gone. And Anonyms is actually opening the gap against Darkser. Most of the GT battles outside the lead has deteriorated. Comey holds up Anonyms a bit. So this brings Darkser up into Anonyms draft once more time. And again now, it becomes clean ahead. Stingray, did he make a stop? Yeah, Stingray makes his first stop extremely early and just barely stays ahead of Critical in the process. Oh, did someone just lag out? ACR Roodles? And Ludicrous Speed out of it again. And for the Ford GT, crushing in. As our top two drivers, Scottson and Muse, make their stop. Third place, believed to be coming in as well. Yes, Legacy comes in as well. Zach, will he stay out or will he come in? He comes in. So the entire prototype category pits on the same lap, and coming in at party now is Ludicrous Speed. Ludicrous, go ahead, include your audio. Horrible day for you. What took you out this time?
The same thing as last time. Forza has the single worst fucking lobbies I have ever, been used in my entire life. The single worst. There have been 2005 Xbox original lobbies better than Motorsport lobbies. I did everything right. I checked, make sure that I wasn't downloading anything. My internet speed was around 200 megabits per second. Everything was good, and I still lag out 20 minutes in. I understand Forza Motorsport can't work on this game anymore because of licensing. They're not allowed to profit anymore because they're using the likenesses of cars, but there's no excuse for these lobbies still being terrible. Absolutely none. If they can make Forza Horizon work with the 100-player lobby, they can make a 20-person Motorsport lobby work. It's genuinely embarrassing.
To play devil's advocate, though, Horizon makes way more money than Motorsport ever could, so...
That's still really not an excuse. Why not just use the same hardware?
I agree. I think it should be that way also, but...
It's laziness. That's all it is. It's really just laziness.
Alright, well, next week it's back to the normal 90-minute races. Do you think you'll be able to rebound a bit there?
If the lobbies hold up, yeah.
Alright, well,
Jesus.
I will say this, not all gloom and doom. Your teammate did go ahead and pull off a third place finish in the Ford GT and Stint 2 at least, but yeah, overall, hard day for the points and hard day for final finishing results.
Yeah, I'm glad the car did good, but my points are going to be awful now. I was trying to capitalize because I know there's some people that are ahead of me that aren't showing up to this, and now I can't really do that. So, thank you, Forza. Thank you for being the worst game 5-6 years running. Thank you. So.
Alright, well, either way, thanks for jumping in and talking with us. It's a shame to see you out like this. Hopefully things are better next week. The Fight for GT category league continues to be the most active one on the field. But once again, we're seeing Lucky starting to pull away from Scored Buffalo a bit here. And Buffalo off circuit again, this may be the end of that fight. In the same vein, this fight between Darkster and Anonyms for second in P2 seems to have closed in as well, as Darkster has lost touch, kind of lost the plot in his fight with Anonyms. For Anonyms, though, frustration because he is nowhere close to catching Critical. Critical, mind you, is back to where he was in the prior. He is lapping he is ahead, not lapping, but he is ahead of the slowest DPI drivers right now. Now, we don't know how much longer it's going to stay that way. DPIs are significantly faster than prototypes here normally, but that seems to be the way this has turned out. As we look at the fuel numbers, Critical still has a quarter left in the tank thus far into the race. But yeah, pretty much all of the battles have fallen away and given up at this point. As I say that, Stingray closes in on Shredder. I'm sorry, I said Buffalo. That got a little bit tighter than I think he wanted it to. Mind you, Stingray pitted a lap earlier than the drivers he's racing. So that's about a 6.5% difference in fuel. Lucky 7 leads in the GT category. Oh, Grizz gets right in front of the Ferrari. They're not going to make him feel very good. But he's far enough ahead of Buffalo that shouldn't compromise him that much. They're even on fuel. And while the BMW is a little bit kinder on tires, we've been seeing that the tires in the GT category don't quite get to the 80% range when they start falling off real problematically. Critical finally gets overtaken by Zach the One. Buffalo is taking the lead. Oh, something has happened. Buffalo leads over Lucky. Has Lucky had an accident? Lucky may have had an accident. And for the first time, Ferrari is not leading on merit. And Lucky coming into the pits now much earlier than what we've been seeing normally. So Buffalo leads in the GT category and still has about a fourth of his fuel tank left as well. Now, I do think this overall might benefit Lucky, simply because Lucky will be able to run potentially laps in clean air. And by doing so, he won't have to worry about Buffalo pressuring him, and he'll be able to beat him. But this also works well for Buffalo because he also is in clean air at the moment. Ferrari coming out right in front of DPI traffic. That is Stingray, who's going to try and get by him quickly as he can. So splitting strategies at the front of the field. Meanwhile, farther up, the Chevrolet of Il Muse going around Larry B. Very aggressive while navigating traffic, but his overall best lap times have just not been able to keep pace with our leader Scottson. Scottson overtaking that Chevrolet there. Been pretty much a minimal issue race for Scottson. His teammate easily won the first stint. He easily won the second stint, and Scottson just needs to stay ahead of Mew, or just stay within sights of him. And when it comes to cumulative distance total, this team will win without issue. Buffalo currently leads, but has yet to make his first stop. As last place in the LMP2 category, DRM Jagged. Credit where credit's due, he has stuck through it, has been here through this entire race, and we do appreciate that. It's a harsh thing to say, but someone has to finish last. As Scottson, our DPI leader, comes up on Buffalo once again. Buffalo not really going to fight too hard with him. Knows that his fight is with the Ferrari. Oh, but Buffalo still ends up dropping some tires into the dirt anyway. That's Il Muse coming up behind the BMW. But he'll catch him at a point that won't really compromise Buffalo's run. Buffalo, that green dot on track going into Canada corner. Highlighted in that number 14 dot is Lucky at the moment. As we swap over to him. Here comes Critical! And Critical hits Lucky from behind! And Critical has an incident! And for Anonyms, this is his best chance to try and do something, because this happened on Critical's in lap. Now, Anonyms is still the better part of 17 seconds out, although we'll see that gap close pretty significantly as they navigate the same part of the circuit. But Critical, having an instant, running into the back of the Ferrari, I think he has enough of a gap that it won't hurt him too much. He'll pit, but Anonyms goes from being more than 15 seconds out to less than 11 seconds out of the top driver in LMP2. And interesting enough, traffic turns into be more of an issue in the final stint with the fewest number of entries. So Critical's actually going to stay out for another lap. That's Remix in the Chevrolet pitting. Critical again needs to try and figure out a way by Lucky without incident, and he'll do it there. The big thing is going to be Lucky also got knocked sideways. Didn't go all the way around, but Lucky was sent sideways in that contact. Will that negatively affect him in his fight with Buffalo? Because when he pitted, he was well behind him. P2s, very light cars, very nimble cars, and while they do stay in the throttle a long time around this track, you also don't end up using, they typically don't end up using too much fuel around here. And there we are, Buffalo has made his stop, and he is well ahead still of that Ferrari. So Larry B. the G is currently your leader by virtue of having not made a stop yet. We anticipate that he'll be making a stop sometime sooner rather than later. Oh, Buffalo off! Not horribly so. He regains it. But Lucky, 4 seconds behind Buffalo. For the first time, we are seeing a Ferrari struggling against Buffalo. Now, typically, we're used to seeing Buffalo, you know, coming from not being so great to being strongest near the end in the stint of, you know, a 90-minute race. A single stint has been 1 hour and 45 minutes today, longer than your typical IESC race. But the same thing is held true. Buffalo kind of irrelevant in the first stint. Second stint, he was second, but never really in a position to do anything. In the final stint, he is leading after Lucky has had some incidents. And now, Buffalo leads again with Lucky 3.5 seconds out, trying to close the gap down. Pretty much the entire P2 category, all pitting uniformly. There's a fight for Anonyms ahead of Darkster, 3.5 seconds, but Anonyms has closed to 8 seconds off of Critical after Critical had his instant with the Ferrari. So for Anonyms, he needs more bad luck to befall Critical before this race is over. It's happened once. It could happen again, but it would be a bold, bold strategy to go ahead and suggest that will happen again. And also, credit where credit is due. While Scottson leads, this man here, Ilmuz, continues to be relatively solid. Scottson is actually going to be catching P2s at a section of the track where they're typically a little bit stronger at. So Scottson's going to have to hope that they're strong enough that they don't hold him up. That's Darkster, who is third right now in P2. Typically, P2s are faster here through the carousel. Being lighter and being a little bit more nimble gives them that great advantage. And they'll be faster until they come out of the kink here. Then the advantage will go to Scottson, assuming Scottson's not compromised by the arrow wake. Not going to be an issue. Easy overtake on the outside. And under braking, he'll be by without issue. Darkster going to be a little bit faster through these corners, though. But Scottson should still have the advantage, simply by having more power. So yeah, Darkster in the end does not compromise. Well, he does actually apparently compromise Scottson a bit. The gap now down to 3.1 seconds. And Ilmuz is actually positioned to catch that traffic, the same car, on the back straightaway. So yeah, Ilmuz might walk out of here without too much of a loss. In fact, he actually might end up gaining net. Ilmuz bearing down on Darkster. He'll have the inside line under braking, so not the ideal point to overtake for him. But he is by, and overall it closed the gap by about 3.5 tenths. Anonyms, who is running second, now has Scottson coming up on him. So traffic is actually starting to kind of hurt Scottson just a bit here, as Anonyms closed up behind Larry B, and Scottson behind them as well. Scottson needs to be careful, a little bit of contact! Scottson, though, will have the inside line and easily outbreaks everyone else into the corner. Not ideal for Scottson whatsoever. Larry, though, will hold up that Chevrolet DPI just a bit in the braking zone. But look at this, Scottson already coming up on more traffic. Although I think this one he'll pass in the straight without issue. Yeah, that's Comey. But Ilmuz, 3 seconds out. Not able to overtake Anonyms in the straight that time. GT Traffic holding up Anonyms. So Ilmuz kind of splits them 3 wide. Very nicely done. Very nicely done, Ilmuz. But the gap extends back out to 3.2 seconds. In the fight for the GT lead, it is Buffalo who has position with Larry B EXR Lucky second. A bit less than 4 seconds out. Lucky, who dominated the last stint, and that Ferrari has dominated first stint 1 and stint 2 in this category, struggling here. But for the overall win, if Lucky can still come home and see the BMW ahead of him, cumulative distance means that he should still be able to walk out here in a solid position. That is the overall category leader. Overall race leader, ESV Scottson, coming up. So obviously Lucky, I imagine, will do his best to not let Scottson hold him up. He'll want Scottson to deny Buffalo the braking zone for turn 1 if he can help it. As we look at Buffalo, Scottson coming up quickly in his rear view mirror. That's an LMP2 traffic ahead. So here, for a moment, we see the leader of all three, your GT, DPI, and LMP2 class all together on track at roughly the same point. Critical has opened the gap on Anonyms back up to 10.8 seconds. But traffic management has been a little bit problematic for him in the first bit of this race. Anonyms and Critical both in serious contention to possibly walk out of here with this victory. But for Anonyms to really do it, he'll need something to befall Critical to drag him back to him. Critical faster than Scottson through this section of track. We know that for a fact. The DPIs have a lot more weight, and it compromises their line through the carousel. Scottson will pull up on Critical coming out of the kink here and should be able to overtake him without too much issue. There it is. And there's Scottson pitting. So Scottson making his second stop. So Ilmuz is going to follow him on in. What about third place Legacy? Legacy does the same. Stingray, who is in fourth, much of the same. And fifth place, VNX, way too far out to really capitalize on any of this. So no change up in the DPI category. Buffalo lets Darkser, third place in the LMP2 category, pass by him without issue. So while we're at this stage in the race, I do want to go ahead and talk about how navigating traffic differs between all three classes. Typically, when you think of endurance racing, you typically think that traffic ends up harming the leaders more than anything else. And if you're talking about the top class, this is accurate. This is a very accurate statement. If we're talking prototypes, or in this case, DPIs, yes, the leaders are the one that have to deal with the traffic. They come up to it. But if you're in the slower category, if you're in the GT class, it is the drivers in the back of a fight who ends up encountering traffic first, because that traffic is faster than them. They have to realize and be cognizant and aware of what the slower cars are doing. Now, again, IESC does run by IMSA style rules, where assuming you're not being stupid, the slower traffic has the primary choice throughout the lanes, but still you have to be cognizant and aware and, be willing to give the prototypes room so they can navigate by you. So in that scenario, Buffalo was kind of at a disadvantage against the leading Ferrari earlier because the DPIs and the P2s kept catching him first while he was not being able to focus properly forward. Now that's changed. Buffalo has the advantage over the Ferrari of Lucky. And with that in mind, this changes it to where Lucky now encounters the traffic first. And Buffalo can potentially take notes of the traffic as it closes on him by watching and seeing that Ferrari struggling in his radar and both on the, well, not just the radar, but he'll see him struggling on both the radar and the distance gap telemetries that most drivers keep up. And here comes your DPI leader once more, Scottson. No issue overtake there. Scottson slowly pulling away from ill moves as this race has gone on. So we'll go ahead and ride silently for a lap on board. Alright, and that is a lap on board with our LMP2 leader, Critical, who is recovering very well from his accident with a Ferrari earlier, and has opened the gap up to 14 seconds over OTR Anonyms at the moment. So the gap between Buffalo and Lucky is actually opened, now over 6.5 seconds in Buffalo's favor. So an inverse in fortunes, and this could very likely put the win of this race in jeopardy for Lucky. A little less than an hour left right now, so just a bit more than halfway to go in this final stint. Of note, Remix, who is there in 13th position, Remix 17 to be exact, is about the same distance, if not just a little bit more, from Lucky that Lucky is from Buffalo. So typically when the gaps have been gained this long, they don't close back up. That's been the way it's gone throughout most of this race today and all the stints. So I don't know what to say to Lucky. He is on a slightly alternate pit strategy than Buffalo, but we also know that the Ferrari burns through its tires faster than the BMW as well, so... So Lucky falling off in the mid portion of the final stint. Most of the battles have gone away, but Anonyms, who is second at the moment, does have a scenario where Darkster is starting to whittle away the gap. Ilmuz gets by Anonyms without too much issue. Ilmuz has been falling off since this last restart. Well, falling off compared to Scottson, that is. But he's maintained a large gap over Legacy in third. Stingray continues to run fourth, about 8 seconds out. Zach the One, fifth, last of all the DPIs that have made it thus far in today's race. We have had other DPIs, but they have pulled out. So we started with about 8 entries in the DPI category and has closed down to 5. No real battles on the track. Real quickly, we'll go ahead and look through the fuel numbers as they stand right now. Scottson, about half of his tank empty. Ilmuz, who is in second, pitting now, so Ilmuz getting off strategy at this point. VNX Legacy, who is third, same as your leader. And we're anticipating the exact same for Stingray as well. So all the Fords running relatively similar strategies at the moment. Chevy gain off strat though, interestingly enough. I don't know how strong of an idea this is going to be by Ilmuz because Stingray is going to be right there in his area, so it's not like he's going to be able to click off laps clean by himself. He will have to deal with Stingray, more than likely. And then Zach the one, who is last. There's only one Chevy left still running at this point. Zach, credit to him, still actually running with a bit more fuel than the other Chevys in the category, but he's way too far back. And this track is way too big to really even make anything of that. When it comes to the LMP2 category, critical, 44%. He is about to put our last place P2 driver a lap down. Second place, OTR Anonyms, 43%. Darkzer, who is third, similar numbers. Grizz, fourth. Again, Grizz actually made a stop a lap earlier than the others in his category this last stint around. So Grizz off strat, but only by a single lap. And then for Jagged, he is on the same. He is technically on the same strat. He pitted a lap earlier, but that advantage is basically neutralized by the fact that he's been slowed enough that he has now been lapped at this stage in the race. In the GT class, Buffalo still has 4/10 of his fuel left. Lucky, who is second, running with only with less than a third left in his tank. Just in case you're curious, and third, Remix. In the Chevrolet, half the tank left. And this is the really interesting thing. Ferrari, which was easily the strongest in the first two stints and was honestly one of the top early on here. At one point, they had 3 of the top 4 positions. They've kind of fallen off in this final stint. And in GT, we could see a lot of mix-up with what the final tally is going to be. And I honestly don't know what it looks like for GT right now, but there is a possibility that Ferrari is going to lose to Scored Buffalo because Buffalo has absolutely turned up the wick here in this final stint. So I do want to go ahead and make an apology, and there has been an incident, and that is an incident coming to the kink, not in the kink, but to the kink, and that was Stingray. He's finally back underway, and the car is totaled, and Stingray has had an accident that has completely totaled his car. And this could have some major championship implications. Serious, significant damage to Stingray. So Stingray will fall to last in the DPI category. Also a risk that he could end up getting overtaken by Critical because he may, due to the damage on that car, may end up needing to make an extra stop. So at this point, any battle that we had is gone, actually. Last place on track, SRG Shredder, still 82 seconds out from Comey. This has been an absolute travesty of a weekend. Please stand by 1 minute. Yeah, can't help you, mate. I'm broadcasting IESC multi-class. They're doing an endurance race, and it's going to basically go right through the entirety of the Miami race. Sorry. So Ilmuz, thanks to Stingray's Instant, now has only VNX Legacy ahead to worry about. So that's been a small positive for Ilmuz, a little bit less potential traffic for him. Your leader, Scottson, anticipated to pit sometime in the next 4 laps. I'm sorry. 4 laps? Yeah, sure. More like 2 laps. He's probably not going to pit this lap, but he'll either pit next lap or the lap afterwards. I anticipate next lap. And that will put Ilmuz likely right on the edge of being the leader. Legacy, who is second at the moment, 16% fuel. We know that he's going to lose second to Ilmuz in the stops. That's critical. Your leader in LMP2 at the moment. Critical might be in position to actually take the overall race lead for the briefest of moments once Scottson stops. And mind you, that will be off after Critical had to deal with an accident earlier. Actually, I take that back. No, Critical will not. But Critical will get a lap back briefly against Scottson. Totally miscalculated there. Sorry. We spent 2 weeks back-to-back at Long Beach and Laguna Seca where the LMP2s were honestly on pace with the DPIs. And that's really, really messed with my perception of their paces. So coming back to Road America, where the DPIs are actually probably faster than the P2s, definitely kind of... It definitely makes my brain go, wee, 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 wee. Legacy spits a lap earlier than Scottson. So Scottson going to go a little bit farther, and he has, by far, he has the fuel to go do it. Thus far, 7% in the DPI seem to be just enough to get you around. And it looks like that was about the amount that he had. So we will see Ilmuz go back to the top. Well, back to the top, but back to second at least. I don't think he's going to... I think Scottson is far enough ahead, 41 seconds, that Ilmuz will not be able to capitalize. Larry in the pit stop right now. Larry B the G, that is. And here comes Scottson into the pits. So the focus now goes to Ilmuz. We're going to go ahead and ride silently on board with Ilmuz for a lap. And see what a flying lap is like on board with the top DPI, well, the top Chevrolet and only remaining Chevrolet DPI driver, and Adams has been wrecked! Adams gets wrecked by a DPI! And this will be horrendous for his championship hopes. The car completely totaled. He'll fall all the way back to third for sure. Any chance he had at catching Critical is gone now. Darkster's probably going to walk out here with second by default. So for Anonyms, the worst kind of scenario after getting dumped by a DPI car. And we didn't see anything close to this kind of chaos and accidents in the first stint, but here it's been a tremendous problem. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and ride on board silently for a lap with the GT, the Chevrolet GT of Remix. See what a lap is like on board with the Chevrolet here around Miami. Silently for a lap. Once more, we look at our leaders in GT. Lucky recently has made a stop. Scored Buffalo has also recently made his stop as well. The gap between them, 4.4 seconds. So Lucky is closing it down. And he's going to try and close it down so he's close enough so that way he will still bring home the overall win. For Buffalo, though, this is great because by far he'll definitely walk out here with the most points out of anyone in the GT category. And that coupled with U5's crash early on and his inability to compete means that this will pretty much put him almost a full race worth of points ahead in the GT Championship. For Critical, similar scenario. Critical, though, missed a lot of races earlier in the LMP2 for IESC in the LMP2 season. He is still trying to close in on Anonyms, and there's also Mr. Sunshine to consider as well. Sunshine did not have a great run. Critical is having a fantastic one, though. So P2 points are definitely going to get a lot more interesting, but it's anticipated that Critical is going to close in significantly on Anonyms, and that in all reality, Sunshine is going to probably drop to third. In DPI, things are a little bit more interesting because Arsenal, who has won 3 of our 5 races up to this point, is not attending today. But Dino, who was running with him, he only was able to complete 1 stint. Stingray outlasted him in that stint, and Stingray, despite his accident here, is going to outlast him here as well. So both Dino and Stingray are anticipated to close on Anonyms in the championship. Stingray more than anything else in the DPI fight. Of note, Anonyms is actually only 7.4 seconds out from Darkster, so it's not impossible for him to get back to second, but it's not looking likely. It does seem like Darkster is going to be probably coming home second overall. That's Zach, who is last place in the DPI category right now. A possible fight of note. Larry B in the Ferrari can see VNX Comey ahead of him. And Comey may have taken damage. Is there something wrong with Comey's car? No damage, but Comey may have gone off in the kink, and this has brought Larry up into the fray. This will be a fight for 4th position between 2 Ferraris. That Chevy DPI got lucky that he was right ahead of that traffic. Critical clears without issue. Larry 8/10 out from Comey at the moment. Also of note, Lucky is starting to close back in on scored Buffalo. The gap's now down to about 3.5 seconds at the front of the GT category. So we're going to go ahead and ride on board silently for a lap along with this man here and see what a lap is like on board the Chevy when he's not turning a prototype. So Zach, who is in 5th, does have a chance of catching Stingray potentially, as Stingray has now been knocked well off cycle due to his accident, and also lost a lot of time as well. So VNX might be able to bring home a 4th place finish in this final stint here. Darkster seems to be solidified himself in 7th, Anonyms in 8th, which is 2nd and 3rd in their category. It's not closed or changed very much at all. Grizz and Jagged both way too far out to do anything there. In the GT class, Lucky has closed it down to 3 seconds on Buffalo, with about 25 minutes left. So Lucky's now cut down to 2.5 seconds. So we are looking like, if he keeps it up, we will have a fight on our hands in the GT top category again. 2.2 seconds. I'm just watching as this continues to close. Not really much else on track of note at this point. As we ride out the rear of Scored Buffalo's BMW, and you can see the Ferrari of Lucky 7 closing back in. This point, this is the closest this fight has been pretty much all day. Well, not all day, that's not really accurate. But this has been the closest it's been since the Ferrari ended up going off and needing to get off cycle to repair the car from damage. "18 minutes left. But then even if Lucky catches the BMW, does he work hard to get by him? They're both fighting for different things here. If Lucky wrecks again, though, it absolutely brains into the chances. It absolutely brains the chances of a Scored Buffalo win into the fray. But when it comes to just the stint, Buffalo is looking like he is going to be able to do this, so it's going to be maybe a matter of pride then, as of deciding this more than anything else. And that is LMP2 traffic coming up. I believe that is Darkser who should still be second overall. Yep, that's Darkster second overall right now in the P2 category, closing in. Gap is 1.5 seconds, so this fight is very much alive right now. Also of note will be Stingray versus Zach. Zach, who is now in 4th position, is on the main general strat, or a strat very similar to what the lead group is in. Stingray had to get off that strat after crashing. And we don't know if Stingray will have the fuel to make it to the end. It's possible. I think he will just barely make it to the end with what he has. Anims has closed it down to 6.7 seconds to Darkster, but is not likely going to close enough to actually do anything to get second place back after his incident. And here's something interesting to take in consideration. Remix, now he has just made his stop, but Remix has kind of been the only guy on pace with our leaders. He is nearly a full minute out from Lucky 7 and Buffalo. And of our leaders, Lucky and Buffalo are both anticipated to make one more stop before this is over. Lucky has 38% fuel left in the tank, Buffalo 43%. And that's 3rd place in LMP2 and in IMS, trying to cut his way through right now. In theory, these two, Buffalo and Lucky, could go ahead and pit now and be good on fuel to the end. And frankly, if I was in Lucky's position, I would do exactly that. I would pit now. That way I don't have to worry about actually trying to overtake that BMW on the racetrack. That's Stingray going by. Who is that pitting right now? That is Zach. So Zach making his stop. And this will likely give 4th place back to Stingray. Possibly to the end of this race. In the GT fight, though, it is on. Oh, Lucky goes off. Again, these two do need to pit still. A bit more than 12 minutes left. 31% for Lucky. So I'm wrong. Lucky might have the fuel to make it to the end. Does Buffalo. Buffalo 36. So yeah, these two should have fuel to make it in. It will be a little bit close, but they should be able to make it to the end on the fuel that they have. I'm assuming they're not burning more than 3% a lap. So this is the fight for the GT top spot. That was Scottson. You can see farther back as he's coming up to put the GT leaders another lap down compared to him. Ilmuz is in second right now. Likely to finish second. For Buffalo, this will work out well. Scottson will kind of kill Lucky's ideal momentum out of the carousel. But now he has to be careful not to get turned by the prototype out of the corner. There it is, not too much of an issue. But the Ferrari is there. Now Ferrari just needs to, well, the Ferrari's almost there. Lucky needs to get a little bit closer so he can start actually lining up shots. It takes the GT cars about 2 minutes to complete a lap around here. And when they come to the line, it will be 11 minutes to go, roughly. So they've got about 5 laps. So with that, Lucky will not be able to catch Buffalo unless Buffalo makes a stop. 24% left, so it looks like it's over. And this might also have a knock-on effect of giving Buffalo the overall race win. The gap now 34.5 seconds. The largest it has been all day. And it is, I'm not exaggerating when I say this could have just deprived the Ferrari of a victory here. after another self-inflicted mistake. Well, semi-self-inflicted, I guess. 7 minutes to go. Scottson leads. No problem for him to get fuel to the end. A little bit closer for Ilmuz. It's going to be very close for him to make it. With about just a bit over 6 minutes left, he would need to be using only 1% of fuel per lap. But if he pulls that off, he will come home second. VNX Legacy pretty much solidly locked into third right now. Might get second if things go wrong for Vilmuz. Stingray in fourth. 7 seconds ahead of Zach. So he's recovered back to where he was going to be in placement. But he has lost a lot of time and therefore distance due to a self-inflicted accident. Critical going to win here after an accident with the Ferrari. Darkster is going to come out second after Anonyms got turned by the Chevrolet DPI. Grizz will come home fourth. Jagged will be fifth. Scored Buffalo is going to win the final stint, and it is very likely that he is... Well, he's actually just made a stop. Oh, so Buffalo apparently has made a stop. So he had the fuel to make it to the end from everything we got, but maybe our information was wrong. So Buffalo and Lucky 7 both have made stops in the final 10 minutes of the race. And the fight's on again. Lucky, less than 2 seconds out. Now again, Lucky could be this close to Buffalo and still win GT overall, but he obviously won't win this final stint. And then I want to give him some credit where credit is due. Remix, who is back here, he is third and will bring home his Chevy to a third place finish. And after Chevy had such an amazing performance, taking home top 3 in DPI, top 2 in LMP2, and then top 2 in GT back at Sebring, it's kind of fallen off a bit for them. Remix, though, being a complete outsider, bringing home a third in a stint for the GT category, that will be great for them to see. Comey will come home fourth. Larry B. the G will be fifth. Not close enough to do anything to Comey in this closing moments. Shredder will be sixth in GT category. So once more, we bring our focus down to the leaders. Lucky, less than 2 seconds out from Buffalo. 4 minutes left on the clock. So that will be roughly 2 minutes for these drivers. Not 2 minutes, 2 laps for these drivers. Here goes Stingray by. Gets into Lucky in the middle of the braking zone. And Lucky goes off. That might be it. That may be what ends up deciding it. Because Buffalo will not have to worry about the DPI blocking him in the braking zone. He's already passed. Alright, Zach now coming up to make the move around the outside. Holds back and then powers by, gets a simple, easy inside overtake coming out of the final corner. Lucky. 1.5 seconds out, but they're only going to have one lap, if that. Here comes the leader of the DPI category, Scottsim. It's down to 1.5 seconds, but unless Buffalo makes a mistake in these closing few corners, this is it. .3 seconds. And then even if Lucky catches Buffalo, can he pass him? We'll even try to pass him. Being this close to the BMW should be enough. Got smashed from behind by the sound of it. As there goes Darkster, second in P2. Oh, in contact, and Darkster goes sideways! He gets back going again. That's gonna kill Lucky's momentum, so that will decide it in GT. For Darkster, he will be far enough ahead of Anonyms that won't affect that. But at the front, Scottson, this car, this entry, has dominated every single run, every single lap, pretty much. And he is going to bring that ESV-sponsored machine up to the line. And our race should be over almost right after he crosses it. There it is, it's over. Scottson wins in DPI, and Legacy ends up ahead of Ilmuz, as Ilmuz did run out of fuel in the end. Push it too far on the fuel mileage, and Ilmuz, the strat that worked out for him in Stint 1, bit him in the butt. Stint 2, Stingray recovers from his accident in a distant 4th place. Zach will come home 5th in DPI. In LMP2, Critical will be your stint winner and potentially your overall race winner. We believe Darkster should come home 2nd overall. Anonyms will be 3rd. Apparently totaled the car. Grizz will be 4th. Jagged will come home 5th, rounding out the P2 category. And Buffalo will win in GT for the final stint, but we believe the overall winner will be the Ferrari of New England entry, and Lucky 7 will bring it home in the end. Remix 17 in the Chevy will come home with a podium. Comey and Larry B. the G will be 4th and 5th in the Ferraris, and then Shredder will round out the field. And that is what we believe will be the final results today. So we're going to do our best to try and get some word in from one, if not multiple, of our category winners here. All right, and coming to the party now is our GT category winner. We believe, officially, things could still change, but we believe you are going to be our overall winner. Go ahead, make sure your audio is included. Lucky 7, and congratulations on winning the 6 hours of Road America. What do you have to say about that run today?
Tired. Very intense track. About it. Wish my last stint was a little better, but it happens.
All right. Well, what happened that took you out of, because you were leading early on and fighting with Buffalo pretty spiritedly, and then you fell way back. What happened?
I had a couple mistakes that I made. My controller was kind of messing with me a little bit, and then I got into a couple incidences, and was just rusty coming in to the stint. And then I was able to think after my second pit stop, I was able to kind of just get into a groove and start running my normal pace. Was able to catch up to Buffalo, almost got him, but oh well.
All right. Well, either way, mate, an absolutely fantastic drive for you overall, winning in the second stint of the day and coming home in a very strong second place in the final stint that should wrap up the GT category win for you pretty much without issue. Great job, mate, and great to see you bring it home for Ferrari today.
Thank you. GG's on the win.
Well, now we're gonna
Scotty.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Cheers.
All right. We want to go ahead and turn our focus to ESV Scottson. Well, we sadly weren't able to get the interview for you at the end of the stint too, but now it's the end of the race, and unless some really bizarre penalty comes out that I'm not aware of, your entry should come home as the overall winner. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it was a good race. Griffin did a good job in stint 1, and we just followed it up in stint 2 and 3.
At any point were you concerned of being caught by anybody else? Because at least from here, it seemed like nobody had anything to really match you.
I thought Muzz had some good pace at the start of stint 3. And Stingray got ahead on the first lap. I thought it was going to be a bit of a battle for a while, but I managed to get through on the second lap and break away.
All right, well, fantastic drive, mate. Absolutely outstanding job. One question I do have to ask you, will we see you for the other endurance race in the series at Road Atlanta in several more weeks?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
All right, well, I do want to say thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Outstanding drive today, mate. You looked very much in control all day. It was great to see you pull that off. You should hold your head high for the rest of the week for sure.
Thanks, Vincent. Cheers. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Mm-hmm.
See you all for the next one, I guess. Cheers.
We're still trying to get word from LMR Critical, because we do want to talk to him about his victory. But if he refuses to say anything, we will probably end up closing our broadcast relatively soon here. But relatively clean first two stints give way to a much more chaotic final stint, but in the end, pace is what all that mattered. Strategy didn't really come into play too much, and the drivers who did try to make strategy really their core focus ended up biting them in the end. We won't know the final actual finishing results until later, so when I probably upload this to YouTube later, I will probably have the final results of the race overall posted in the description, kind of like at the very bottom, and there'll be like a note saying, hey, at the bottom of this will be the final spoiler race results overall. Next week, though, ISC will go back to being a normal 90-minute affair, and again, for those of you who want to see the Apex NASCAR race, I'm sorry, we were not able to broadcast that due to this Forza race going late. There was no way we would be going to be able to cover that. That race is probably already about 3/4 of the way over, so I do apologize for that. But that will pretty much wrap up our broadcast here. Tomorrow, Apex F1 will be their second to last race as they go to Australia, while the Drivers' Championship is wrapped up. Manufacturer's title is still up for grabs. It could be locked up tomorrow. And then I also will still be doing my normal X3 broadcasting tomorrow at 5 p.m. UK time as X3 is finally back. Also, next week, again, ISC will be back to its normal time schedule as a 90-minute race, and then I will be covering the Apex NASCAR race then. But for anyone who has watched us at any point throughout the 3 stints today, I've been your host, Insane Lear 13. Thanks for watching today, and goodbye.